Hello and welcome to another book review, and today I want to talk to you about The Troop by Nick Cutter. I have heard a lot about this book. It's been a lot of praise over on the Books of Horror Facebook group. Even the back cover describes it as the horror book talk sensation. And I've never read any Nick Cutter before, so might as well start with the very first Nick Cutter novel. I will say Nick Cutter is the pen name for Craig Davidson. It is not Davidson's first novel, but it is his first novel under the pen name Nick Cutter. So my understanding is he doesn't write horror under Craig Davidson. He uses Nick Cutter for horror. And believe it or not, this novel is almost 10 years old. It said that it came out in 2014, which is wild that it took me this long to read it. But I mean, I've only been in the Books of Horror group for a few years now, but I've been hearing a lot of praise. I actually got to meet Craig Davidson / Nick Cutter in Toronto a few weeks back. Philip Fracassi's book signing. So I actually got a copy personalized, which is really cool. So thank you very much, Craig / Nick. And wow, what an excellent read. If you are not a fan of gross out horror, you're just going to want to stay clear. Stephen King even has a little blurb on the top here. It says, "This is old school horror at its best." And I will agree, this is a superb novel. It's been called a horror version of Lord of the Flies, even though Lord of the Flies is already kind of horror-ish or horrifying in a psychological sense. This is much more horrifying in a it will gross you the hell out sense. So if you do not have a weak stomach, if you don't like creepy crawlies, this is not the novel for you. I'm not going to say what the thing is, but it's creepy crawly. That's the little subgenre, if you will. It is very much based. It's very much influenced by Lord of the Flies, of course. There we go. There's even a quote for Lord of the Flies right in the front there. But it's also influenced by Carrie, by Stephen King. He even thanks Stephen King and references Carrie in his acknowledgments in the back here. It is epistolary in nature. So the novel proper is not epistolary, but between the chapters are a lot of little news segments or interviews or even an ad at one point. There's an ad, which adds more background information to the novel. It's 2.5 minutes. Let's actually talk about the novel itself. The Troop is about a troop of Boy Scouts, a troop of scouts, along with their scoutmaster Tim, Dr. Tim, who go to a fictitious Falstaff Island off the coast of Prince Edward Island in eastern Canada. For, just a weekend of good old scout camping. Earn some merit badges, survive the wilderness. However, it turns out that there's going to be a change of plans because I'll describe him as the Hungry Man, or Starvin' Marvin, as he's referred to in the opening chapter, I guess, the opening headline here. A very, very thin and sickly man makes his way to this island. And, he's infected. He's infected with something. Like I said, creepy crawlies. Let's put it like that. And he's very contagious and he is very sick. And it puts the troop at risk. And they have to suddenly survive on this island from said creepy crawlies. And they are cut off from the mainland. The only connection to the mainland was a radio the Scoutmaster brings with him. The sick man destroys the radio, and suddenly they are cut off. And it is up to the troop to survive said creepy crawlies. But amongst those 5 boys and Scoutmaster Tim, is a very deranged scout. He's one of the 5 is very deranged as well. He's very much a sociopath. And he is really getting off on the fact that they are suddenly isolated on this island with no connection to the mainland. So they have to deal with him as well. And man, it's a page turner. Like I said, this is the mass market paperback, which is about 400 pages, over 400 pages. But I flew through it. Like it is a page turner. And like I said, if you don't mind gross out horror, I think you will love it. It's good. I mean, the characters are very much kind of stereotypes. You got your scoutmaster who wants to look out for the troop. The 5 boys, you got kind of the alpha male, You have the nerdy kid. You have the secret sociopath, if that is a trope you want to go with. You have the kid that's kind of prone to anger fits, and then you have his friend who's the more mild-mannered friend that kind of gets along with everybody. And there isn't too much, maybe character development beyond those stereotypes. But I think for what it is, it worked really well. Going back to what Stephen King says, it's old school horror at its best. I mean, you're not looking for. I know some people might say, "Oh, it's kind of stereotypical with the characters and the tropes," or it doesn't really do anything too new. Like I said, it very much has its idea based on what if Lord of the Flies had more gross out horror in it. Excuse me, as I cough off camera. But I think it takes those old elements and it uses them exceptionally well. And that is one of the things that Nick Cutter, or Craig Davidson, if you will, does really well. It's just his voice. He has such a great descriptive quality with his words that you want to be with him every step of the way. He's very descriptive, which is both a blessing and a curse. Blessing because it really draws you in. Curse because if you are squeamish, you aren't going to want the descriptions of said creepy crawlies or those who might be infected with them. You don't want descriptions of what is supposed to be them killing an animal for food, but they find out that said animal is really hard to kill. And if you don't like very graphic, I don't want to say animal torture because that's not the intent, but it ultimately comes out animal torture, you're not going to like the troop. But if you don't mind stomaching those, you are absolutely going to love this. Just don't read it when you're on your own camping trip. Don't read this while you're eating because it's not for the faint of stomach or the faint of heart. I don't want to say it's extreme horror, not in the sense of like Richard Lehman gets pretty extreme or graphic or Bentley Little gets pretty extreme or graphic. Because it does get extreme and graphic in terms of, like I say, gross out horror. So you don't really, that makes sense. You might not have like that sort of existential dread, but it will make your skin crawl. Seriously, my first read from Nick Cutter, and I am definitely going to be reading more Nick Cutter. I got several other books from Nick Cutter that were all autographed while I was in the Little Ghosts bookshop up in Toronto, so I'm very much looking forward to diving into those. If you want to see more book reviews, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Got plenty of unboxing videos in between those as well. But seriously, if you're looking for good old school horror, you can't go wrong with The Troop by Nick Cutter. Thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you around next time.